Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a black comedy from Spain, Spanish language English subs, released in the year 2017, directed by Alex de la Iglesia, and this film is called The Bar. So the bar is set in Madrid. You've got a group of people one morning who go inside this bar for a bit of breakfast, but this morning is going to be unlike any other morning they've ever experienced when something horrible happens outside that causes them to be stranded. So they don't know what's going on, and that uncertainty creates paranoia that ultimately leads up to a set of events that are going to prove very dangerous and are going to endanger the lives of everyone involved. So whether or not these characters can survive this very eventful day is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on The Bar. One of the main reasons why Alex de la Iglesia is one of my favourite directors is because he really understands how to make light of a very serious situation. So when it comes to horror comedies, he really gets that fine blend. And so the movie isn't too funny and it's not too scary. So I never felt as though in his other films, as though one specific genre is dominating the other. And when you get a very fine blend like that and equal measure, this is what makes a very good darkly humorous film. So he's directed a whole host of other movies with very insane characters and insane situations, and ultimately that's what you get in The Bar. And that's the best thing about The Bar, is that not only do you have insanity in the film, but you also have a very underlying message that is very scary. And basically what it's depicting is fear, and how fear can mold people into people that they didn't initially think they were. It's basically bringing out the devil through paranoia. And there's another film called The Mist, which stars Thomas Jane, it's a Stephen King adaptation, that I thought was very similar in telling you that once fear is facing you, then all bets are off. You can be the most likable person, but if you're facing an extreme situation, you can do irrational things. And it proves how dangerous irrational behaviour can be. And that's the similarity I got with The Bar, is that all these characters at the start of the film, they're larger than life, they're insane, but they seem somewhat trustworthy. But when they're faced with this situation that is very uncertain, all of a sudden they become different people. And it's very scary to see how fear has shaped these people. And this is something you can get in everyday life, and a lot of irrational behaviour behind the society's safety in today's day and age. And there's a lot of division amongst people who don't like other people, and so that fear is really playing that contributing role that I think is very it's very relevant in today's society. So I thought that was emulated very well in the Bar, in not knowing exactly what was going on and how people were actually coping with this. There's a lot of conspiracy theories that seemed really insane, but in that certain situation that actually seems sane, and that they're actually believing it because they want to believe it, because if they can believe their conspiracy theory, they've got a sense of control, and with a sense of control you feel a little bit safer, but it's a false sense of security. And so that's what I believe everyone in this film had. There's strong levels of false levels of security that actually provided something that was even more of a contributing factor to the downfall of everyone involved. So you also have a lot of uncertainty outside the bar. Nothing's explained for the first quarter of this film, which makes it even more terrifying. And I think that level of not knowing what's going on really does play and gives you the mentality of someone who's just completely losing the plot. So this movie takes place in the bar, now basically for the whole film, and I felt like the bar had a very isolated feeling in its atmosphere, and that was basically documenting what these people were feeling as well. So that was all very, very good. And so for the majority of this film, I thought the script was absolutely fantastic. The script allows these characters to blossom in a very insane way. So as I said, you've got a very dark underbelly, but the insanity of the situation actually provides that comedic value. And that comedic value is done because of the way the script is written, and the actors, they look as though they're having a lot of fun. So there's a lot of trust between director and actors in this film, which actually gets everyone on the level playing field, and so it actually feels like everything's going with very good cohesion. And that's something, once again, that I really, really liked. And there's a little bit of shocking violence in there that thrown in there for good measure, which is a case with a lot of other Alex de la Iglesia films. Unfortunately, however, there are two problems that really do prevent this film from being an absolutely fantastic experience, and those two problems are the fact that it's too long and that the movie uses all of its aces up way too quickly. After the first quarter, the movie starts to explain itself a little bit. It starts to give itself a little bit of exposition, and that exposition really does kill all the psychological impact that the movie had in the first quarter. So I never felt like this movie fully realised the good thing it was onto. And coming from an Alex de la Iglesia perspective, I was a little bit disappointed by that, because he's very experienced in what he does. But the problems of this film, it made it feel like this is a movie done by a very new director. So for Alex de la Iglesia, I expected him to realise that first quarter was the sole interest of this film. This is what created created that tension. It's what created the edge of your seat experience, but at the same time really laughing at what was going on. But once you get the exposition, all of a sudden the viewer starts to get in control. When you get into control, it releases that pressure valve, and that pressure valve was through the roof for the first act of this film. But after that, it starts to become a little bit generic, and it really starts to be inconsistent in its continuity. And the fact that it goes for 1 hour and 42 minutes, initially that's not a very long film, but it feels like a very long movie because it's lost all of that psychological tension. It's lost all that paranoia. It's lost all that sort of, there's still irrational behavior, and there's still, it's telling you what people will do in order to save themselves, but it's not quite as tense as it was when you didn't actually know what was going on outside. And when it's actually revealed as to what's going on outside, I thought it really lacked a lot of inspiration. So those problems really do affect the filming quite considerably, because I couldn't help but feel that this should have been an absolutely brilliant masterpiece. But in the end, what it is a movie that's not terrible, but it just didn't realise the good things it had going for it, and so the self-awareness in that aspect was a little bit lackluster. Therefore, it does bring the film down quite a bit. So it's still insane. It's everything you would expect from an Alex de la Iglesia film, but unfortunately, coming from his perspective, it really should have been a lot better. So overall, for The Bar, going to give it 3 stars. Still recommended, but you'll probably come away from disappointed thinking that it should have been a bit better. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.